Okay, so you know how sometimes there's this feeling like something's going on, but you just can't quite put your finger on it? Like there's a whole lot more to the story than what we're being told.
Exactly. It's that curiosity that drives us to dig deeper, to peel back the layers and get to the truth.
Right. And today we're diving into something particularly intriguing, maybe even unbelievable, honestly.
We're talking about Nagaland, this region in northeast India, right?
Ugh.
A place with incredible landscapes and a fascinating history. But what we're focusing on today is way more secretive, way more under the radar.
Yeah, it's almost like something straight out of a spy novel. The question we're wrestling with today, based on what we've found in our sources, is, are there secret foreign military bases operating right there in Nagaland?
It's a wild thought, right? I
Yeah.
think about it, these stunning landscapes potentially hiding covert military activity. And when you look at Nagaland geographically, bordering Myanmar, so close to China, and its location near India's super sensitive northeast corridor, well, it starts to make you wonder.
I mean, that Northeast corridor is a pretty big deal, strategically. Connecting India to its northeastern states, historically a ton of tension in that region. So, yeah, I see why different countries might be interested in Nagaland.
Absolutely. And it's not just about where it is, but why. What could be the strategic reasons behind setting up these secret bases?
Right, like what would they be trying to accomplish?
Well, our sources point to a few possibilities. First, imagine being able to discreetly gather intel on neighboring countries. Then there's the potential for moving personnel and equipment in and out, completely under wraps, and maybe even staging military operations without anyone knowing.
All while flying under the radar, basically, staying hidden from international attention.
Okay, so we can see why Nagaland might be attractive for this kind of clandestine stuff, but the big question, the thing we really need to figure out is there actual proof? Is there hard evidence to back up these claims of secret bases?
And that's where things get really interesting, because our sources point to some pretty strange reports and observations that have fueled these suspicions for a long time. Okay, so like what kind of reports?
Well, for one, there are these accounts from villagers in remote parts of Nagaland. They talk about unexplained helicopter landings happening at night. And these aren't your typical civilian flights. There are no official records, no explanations. What's your take on that?
I mean, that definitely sets off alarm bells, right? If there's no official record, no explanation for these flights, you gotta wonder, who's flying these helicopters? And what are they doing there, especially under the cover of darkness?
And it gets even weirder. Apparently, some villagers have overheard uniformed individuals speaking in languages they couldn't understand. Not Hindi, not English, not any of the local Naga dialects. It just adds to the mystery, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's like, who are these people and what are they up to? And if we're talking about foreign involvement, those language differences could be a big clue.
Exactly. Now, our sources also mention satellite imagery. There are claims of construction projects happening deep in Nagaland's forests, facilities that are totally missing from any official Indian government maps. And these aren't just any old buildings. Our sources talk about specific construction patterns that are definitely not typical for civilian projects in the region.
So if the Indian government isn't acknowledging these structures, who's building them and what are they for? It's hard to shake the feeling that someone is trying really hard to keep this stuff secret.
Really makes you think, doesn't it? So let's dive into the possibilities. Who could be behind all of this? Our sources offer a few different theories, and each one has its own logic, geopolitically speaking. One of the main theories focuses on potential Chinese involvement.
Yeah, China's a big player in the region.
Right. The theory is that China might be using secret routes through Myanmar to support insurgent groups in Nagaland. We're talking about potential training, resources, maybe even weapons. Their goal, to destabilize the region, create some chaos. But it's not just about causing problems. Think about it. If China can gain influence in this sensitive corridor, it could impact India's power in the region.
It's a way to put pressure on India, basically. And it fits with the idea of China's expanding influence in South Asia.
Absolutely. Now, another theory centers on the United States. Some believe that the U.S. could have set up secret intelligence outposts in Nagaland as part of its Indo-Pacific strategy.
So basically keeping tabs on China, as well as everything else going on in the region.
Exactly. And Nagaland's location is perfect for that. It offers a unique vantage point, potentially less monitored than other areas, to keep an eye on Chinese activity.
So it's like a strategic chess move.
Precisely. And get this. Our sources mention leaked documents from just last year, 2023, that seem to point to joint operations between the CIA and India's own intelligence agency, RAW, right there in Nagaland. That's a pretty big deal because it suggests a level of cooperation that's not publicly acknowledged at all.
Yeah, it implies that maybe India knows more about these foreign activities than they're letting on.
Right. And there's another twist our source throws in. Myanmar's military might also be involved.
Uh-huh.
It makes you wonder, right? What if Nagaland isn't just a strategic asset for one or two countries, but for multiple players?
Like everyone's trying to get a piece of the pie.
Exactly. Our sources use this phrase, intelligence goldmine, to describe Nagaland. It's like this hidden hub where all these countries are vying for influence and information.
Okay, so we've talked about these outside forces, but we also need to consider what's happening within Nagaland itself. The region has this long and complex history of insurgency, right? Groups like the NSCN, the Nationalist Socialist Council of Nagaland, have been fighting for independence for decades.
That's a key point. And our sources explore this theory that Naga militant groups might actually be collaborating with these foreign powers.
Oh, wow. So it's not just countries operating in secret, but potentially local groups working with them, too.
Right. And there are reports that certain factions within the NSCN have been getting support from outside, money, weapons, even combat training. Some point to China or Pakistan as the likely providers. So think back to those helicopter landings in the mysterious foreign languages. It all starts to line up, right? It adds weight to the idea that these external players might be providing direct support to these insurgents.
It's like a whole hidden network. And one thing that really stands out our source is how quiet the Indian government has been about all of this. At the same time, there are these leaked intelligence reports suggesting that foreign agencies might be using Nagaland as a pawn in a much bigger geopolitical game.
Right. It's this incredibly complex situation, potentially really unstable. And it leads to a question you, the listener, might be asking. If there's any truth to these secret bases, why hasn't the Indian government said anything? Why the silence?
It's a good question.
Our source offers a couple of possible explanations. One is that the Indian government knows exactly what's going on, and they're actually okay with it. Maybe they see some strategic benefit to allowing these foreign activities, even if it's all happening in secret.
Like maybe they're getting valuable intelligence in return, or it helps maintain a certain balance of power in the region.
Right. But there's another possibility the source brings up. Maybe the Indian government doesn't have full control over these remote areas of Nagaland. It's a tough terrain, and it's possible that these foreign actors are taking advantage of that, operating without India's knowledge or consent.
So it's like a security gap that these countries are exploiting.
Exactly. And then there's a more concerning possibility our source mentions. What if the Indian government does know about these activities, but is choosing not to say anything because they're worried about the consequences, both domestically and internationally?
It's like a can of worms they don't want to open. Okay, but let's think about this from the perspective of the people who actually live in Nagaland, the Naga people. What are the implications for them if all this is true?
Right, and that's where the ethical questions really come in. The source raises this important point. Are the Naga people being used? Are they being treated like pawns in some big power struggle that they have no control over? It's a troubling thought.
Definitely. And it's not just about ethics. There's also the very real danger that Nagaland could become a conflict zone. If these secret activities escalate, or if the truth comes out in a way that destabilizes the region, things could get really bad.
That's the fear, right? And it all comes down to this fundamental question. What is the real story here? What are they hiding from us? Our source suggests that this isn't just a local issue. This could be part of a much larger hidden war that's being fought by global superpowers, and places like Nagaland are becoming the battlegrounds.
It's a chilling thought, right, that there's so much happening beneath the surface that we're completely unaware of. As our source wraps up this discussion, it's those unanswered questions and the need for more transparency that really hit home.
So after hearing all this, I have to ask,
Yeah.
what do you believe? Do you think foreign forces are operating secretly in Nagaland? And if so, based on everything we've discussed, who do you think is behind it? China, the U.S., Myanmar, maybe all of them.
Yeah, it's a lot to consider. And if any of this turns out to be true, it has huge implications for the region and for the world. We really encourage you to keep thinking about what you've heard today and to keep exploring these different perspectives.
What strikes me most is this. Even in seemingly peaceful places, there could be these layers of international intrigue, secret operations happening right under our noses. It makes you realize how complex global politics really are and how important it is to question the narratives we're getting.